You're listening to Everything's Fucked podcast, where you haven't been fucked till you've heard everything's fucked. This is Monica.
And Asia.
Asia, are you ready to get personal today?
We're going to get into the thick of it.
Yes, we're going to be talking about depression, anxiety, OCD, bipolar, just mental health shit.
Mental health.
Yeah, I mean, not shit because it's like, real and stuff.
It's very real and a big deal to me and Monica. We both suffer from different ailments.
I guess it could be shit because sometimes it is.
It is. All of this is fucked. You know what I mean? Mental health is something that needs to be addressed.
Talked about more.
Yeah, needs to be brought up.
I feel normalized. Like it's like starting to be more normalized. Yeah. People are talking about it a lot more. It's being hashtagged a lot more. People are like
going to therapy more.
Yeah, they're expressing their like thoughts in the open more about it. Like telling people, like I have mental health issues, like I'm suffering from depression, I'm suffering from anxiety, and it's become more like widely acceptable. And a lot of like big companies and some smaller ones too are offering like a lot of mental health benefits and stuff too, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And now you can find a lot of resources for free too. A lot of like communities have like different, I don't know how to word it, but they have different programs and stuff that you can get involved with. And in your kids' schools, there's different things now going on around mental health and a lot more advocacy for kids and their mental health going on. You know what I mean?
A lot of them have those school counselors that are like actually available for
my kids
to talk to.
Yeah, my kids have both, all three of my children, school-age children, have gone to those counselors, especially Rebecca. She went weekly, I think, for 8 years. So
they're so important,
very important, and it's nice that it's getting spoken about. People are coming up. They're speaking on their struggles to normalize it for everybody else, so that we know we're not alone and it's not as taboo as everybody thinks. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's not like that closet thing that you don't talk about, because it used to be, like therapy was like a dirty
word. There's a stigma around
like,
it. That means you must have something wrong with you.
She's in therapy.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. Like you have to like say you're getting your nails done and you're really just going to go talk to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. Or, you were like Aunt so-and-so's gossiping about you because, I heard, she's in therapy.
She's on Prozac, she takes the Xanax. So she must have real shit going on in her life.
It's kind of funny to see all those, memes and stuff about popping a Xanax or, being on Prozac or whatever. And it's people making light of situations that are hard to talk about. And I think that does help, because humor is definitely something that, people need to make.
Yeah, if you make light of it and you realize that you're not alone. And a lot of people are on medication. A lot of people are on medication for depression.
So many more people than we probably realize.
Yeah. I think it's like a 1 in 3 or 2 in 3. It's like some crazy, I can't remember exactly, but a lot of people suffer from depression in the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I've gone through stages of it, like throughout my life, starting when I was a young teenager and all the way through adulthood. I mean, even last year, had a couple bouts of it, and I'm
do you think it's more seasonal, or do you think that your depression was situational? Or
it's for me, it's always situational. I don't ever feel like I suffer
like
with
you're stuck all the time.
Seasonal affective disorder,
or like you're stuck all the time. No, I can't remember which one.
Seasonal affective disorder, is that what it is?
Yeah, we're definitely not.
We're not doctors. We don't remember.
We don't know terms as well as everybody else. But I mean, there's like 5 types or something. Seasonal is one of them, I think.
For me, it's always situational. So like when I have a lot of like stuff going on in my life that I feel very out of control, and I don't know how to deal with things, like I definitely tend to lean more towards depression in those types of situations. But I also have been diagnosed with like generalized anxiety with panic disorders.
Yeah, I have that
too. Obsessive compulsive disorder. So
yeah, I have the first one. I know that I have anxiety and a panic disorder and a personality disorder. And I also have bipolar disorder, which runs in my family pretty pretty hot and heavy. My mom's bipolar, my dad is bipolar, and my dad's in a mental hospital because he's that sick. Um, he has been in a mental hospital off and on since I was 9, so 30 years. Um, so it runs really thick in my family, deep in my family. So I have it. Rebecca has it. My brothers both have it. Um, Bipolar is one of those things that I think I don't lean into the depressive part of bipolar disorder. I'm more of the manic, unpredictable type. I don't get depressive as much as I get when I'm bipolar. I get more manic, like I get more spontaneous and stuff like that.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. All right.
yeah, but I don't. My bipolar is completely under control. Most of my stuff is hormonal. So when I have babies, I get super hormonal. I get very depressed, very insecure, especially right after I have the baby, like any other, normal person would feel after all those changes. And that's when I suffer from postpartum depression, postnatal depression. I suffer with, postpartum rage, where you feel like it's just so fucking angry inside and it won't
Yeah.
like go away. I think, postpartum depression probably deserves its own episode. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, we're
It,
definitely for sure gonna do
it,
that.
it deserves its own like a lot of time for that one, because it's the one that affects the most, I think, women, and that's the one that affected me the most. I was able to get on medication pretty quickly after Liliana, and so I came out of it pretty quick. And with Joshua, I worked, so it helped me because I had work to do and I couldn't really focus on, but with Lily, I was at home with my in-laws. I wasn't happy. I gained like 70 pounds. You know what I mean? I had Rebecca. She was a toddler. So I was struggling. And I just remember feeling like I wasn't a good mom. Like everybody knew it, just a lot of shame around that, you
Yeah.
know, that
It's really
type
hard
of
too
depression.
when that's happening because like in your head, what you're feeling feels so real. Part of you knows like it's like almost illogical, but you can't stop yourself from feeling and thinking how you're feeling. And like all
Yeah.
the hormones and stuff in your body are just like wreaking havoc on you anyway, but your
And you're
your body is just telling you like this is how you feel.
and you're
You're
feeling
just like
extreme sadness during a time when everybody tells you you should be
you should be
feeling
happy.
extreme happiness.
Yeah.
And it feels so wrong to feel your actual feelings in those moments and be able to talk about them and say, this is how I feel, because there's so much shame around not enjoying every fucking moment, you know what I mean, of what's going on in your life. And I learned, it took me, 4 kids to learn that it's okay to not be happy bringing that baby home. And it's okay to regret and resent and feel anger and hostility and like judgment and jealousy and all the things that go along with welcoming a new person into your damn life that you have
Yeah.
to take care of for the rest of eternity. So
Yeah.
I think we just need to normalize that type of depression, especially because it's so, so detrimental to moms and to children if that one's not,
Dealt with right away.
diagnosed right away, handled right away, kit gloves, come in and love that mom, love the dad too. I think that's another part of this no one talks about, but husbands go through depression too, right around the times that their babies are born. Their wives are changing, their bodies are changing, their lives are changing. They're expected to do a lot more. And then the baby comes, and now there's this thing that's on their wife's boob. It's taking all of their time. It's getting all of their affection, all of their love. They go
And their
through it
wife hates
too.
them and
Yeah, doesn't want to be touched.
yeah.
She's touched out when they get
Yeah.
home. She's not into sex. She can't have sex for what? Shit, I couldn't have sex for 2 months because of Scarlett was, high risk. So 2 months prior to having the baby, I couldn't have sex. And then 6 weeks after, well, it was more like 2 months because I wasn't interested. But I mean, that's 4 months where my husband felt rejected and not included and not a part. You know what I mean? So especially if your husbands are into physical touch and that's their love language, like my husband, it was
Yeah.
difficult. And I could see how depressed he would get, when we had kids. And especially when we would find out we're pregnant, he would know right then at that very moment, he lost his drinking buddy. He lost his, stay up late buddy. He lost his confidant because now I'm only worried about what's in me, this baby. And that's all I'm thinking about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
I
important
didn't
to talk about.
really I didn't really suffer from postpartum depression. For me, I never like that one thankfully like didn't hit me. I just have always had like depression that like hits me
In waves.
randomly in waves. I'll go like a year and just be fine and not have any issues, and then it'll just hit me and I'll just be like super
Do you go
depressed.
on
And
medication when that happens? Do you find that
no,
you do, what do you do to help yourself get out of that funk and not stay there? You
I
know what
kind
I
of have to
mean?
like figure out like where it's coming from. Sometimes that's
Yeah.
really hard to do. There's only been one time in my life that it was so bad that I did need to go on medication, and that was something that really helped me. But I went through cognitive behavioral therapy that really
Yeah.
helped me.
I did
And
biofeedback.
yeah, and I think that's like one of those things where when I find myself in that state of I can't figure out what's going on, I generally try to go find therapy to help.
Yeah.
Um, but it's usually like, let me find the trigger, what's going on. Like recently,
What's causing this
yeah,
uproar
recently it was
in
like,
my mental health? Yeah.
yeah, Ramona is going through puberty and that's been really stressful and hard. And that's been causing a lot of anxiety. And when I'm really anxious, that like makes me really depressed. And that causes a lot of OCD tendencies to come
Yeah.
back up. And when that happens, that sends me into an anxiety spiral. And then that
Yeah.
makes me really depressed. And so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like a
A
cycle for
cycle.
me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that makes it really hard.
No,
And
I
of
get
course,
that.
hormones too, because
They
our
don't help.
hormones just wreak havoc with our bodies
If I'm on birth
anyway.
control, like I've had to go on it because I have endometriosis, so I've had to go on birth control just because it's necessary for me to have those hormones. They do make me a lot more ragey and a lot more like my moods are more unpredictable. So I would say like for me as a person, it's almost always hormonal. You know what I mean? It's not as much situational. I think the only time in my life that it was situational or that it was situational is when Rebecca went through all of her hard times when she was 14 and 15 and then she went to jail and was removed. That's the time when I hit my rock bottom. I was at the lowest point of my life and I had to go on like several meds to get me out. I
Okay.
had to be on shit. I think at one point I was on 6 different meds to make sure that I was able to function for my other kids because
Wow.
I would the deep sadness that you feel and the
Yeah.
loss and then the turmoil and then all of the regret and then it's just so many emotions at one time. Our brains are not wired to handle that type of stimuli, so you
Yeah.
really need to give it something just to have a break because I have a seizure disorder and so mine is psychosomatic. It basically, because of my trauma as a child, if I go through anything that brings up that said trauma in a real big way, then I seize out. And I have an aura, and it's happened, 6 times. So it's triggered by things now associated with Rebecca. So like you're saying, I can look now and I can see in my past when I needed meds and what it was triggering, and it was almost always around parenting her or my inability. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I think that manifested itself. So
Okay.
I've needed meds, I think maybe 4 times, but the last time was from 2015 until 2020 and 2018. That's when I went off. Yeah, I was on 3 years. When I got pregnant with Scarlett, I went off everything, and I haven't been on anything since because my mental health is great right now. So I
Good.
don't feel like I need it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if you
Yeah,
do feel like you
definitely.
need it, you should go to the doctor. You know what I mean? There are so many
I mean,
doctors out
yeah,
there.
there's so many different ways and avenues to go
Get
about that.
help.
Yeah.
Tattoo therapy helps. It helped me. Getting tattoos, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it helps me. You know what I mean? And maybe one a year, it's that release of like, okay, and then you have that to look on and be like, yeah, I did that. And it reminds you of something good.
Yeah, I
So
actually know somebody else who does that for
I don't,
theirs.
I try not to do it. It's an expensive habit. So
Yeah, seriously.
I'm trying not to put that much art on my skin because shit, I don't like cheap art. I don't like the $15 pieces. I'm into like $1,000 pieces. I want big, extravagant, means a lot pieces. So I try to
Yeah.
do the one a year, maybe one every 2 years, you know what I mean? Because it's an expensive form of therapy.
Yeah. There's a lot of like stigma around medication too, where I think people are afraid of going that avenue. But it's one of those things where, medication it's designed to help you. It's not a long-term
Yeah.
situation. Most people when they go that route, it's to like help you get out of the funk.
It's more like a
It kind of
crutch. And then
yeah, it's a
therapy
crutch.
And
to
biofeedback and all that
yes,
stuff is supposed
exactly. It's
to,
like you kind of think of it as like a crutch, and then therapy is like your physical therapy, and
yeah,
then you use them together. It helps you figure out like kind of to find your baseline, and then you don't need it anymore. And
yeah.
that's what I ended up doing, and that was really helpful for me, and I really like that. Did you know that almost twice as many women experience depression as men?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They are thinking it could be because women are more likely to seek therapy than men.
Oh, yeah. So we're just showing up more
Yeah.
in the stats. But,
Yeah.
I
Also
think mental
because
health in men is one of those things that you have to like suck it up. Why you
yeah,
crying? You're a
stigma attached to
boy.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I did it with my son and I regret it. Raising him, he was my only boy and I wanted him to be strong. I wanted him to be manly. And he was 2, 3, 4 years old. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
look back now, like that telling a baby, a kid, any kid, not to cry, not to show his feelings, not to be emotional when they're needing to be emotional is detrimental. You know what I mean? And a lot of boys are raised like that. A lot of men have been raised that way.
Yeah. And then it teaches them not to seek help when they need it.
Yeah,
And
because they're a man. They shouldn't need
yeah,
help.
they shouldn't need help. You don't need to talk to anyone about your feelings. Just stuff it
Yeah.
down. It's
Suck it
fine.
up,
It'll go
buttercup.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, go on with your day.
Yeah, which is, really sad
It's
and
sad. I think,
hopefully that's one of those things too where that stigma will eventually go away. I think it's becoming more regular for men to seek therapy now.
yeah,
A lot of couples are going to therapy more often and things like that. And I think too, like newer generations are realizing the importance of mental health, and
yeah,
because it's being offered in the workplace and things like that, I think it's becoming more widely accepted. So
yeah. And I agree with you. I think back in the day, you saying you had bipolar disorder or anything like that would get you like this label on you, like you couldn't
oh
handle
yeah,
life, and like
seriously.
if you hire me, I might be really unpredictable and I might be all over the place. So when you would go in for job interviews or you would go in to do anything really, even relationships, you wouldn't want to off the bat say, I'm bipolar and I'm on like 3 meds to control myself. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to put that information out there because there is a stigma. There always has been. Um, when you speak out and you say, no, I'm a normal person and I have bipolar. I'm a normal person and I have OCD. I'm a typical person and I'm over here managing my mental health because I have these things that I have to work on. You know what I mean? Every
Yeah.
day. And it's okay. We're normal. You know what I mean? Everyday people.
Yeah. I think too, one of the things that drives me a little crazy is people using those terms in situations that are not appropriate. Oh, look at him. He's so OCD trying to clean all the time, or, oh, she's
Yeah.
acting all bipolar.
Yeah.
Uh, One of those, just being aware of language and recognizing
Yeah.
that using those terms is kind of offensive to people who
It's
actually have
inflammatory.
those yeah,
Yeah.
who actually have those like issues.
Making light.
OCD isn't funny.
It's not.
It's
I
really
think
stressful.
I saw like a SNL skit or something about somebody and they were like turning the light on and off and like doing some pretty extreme OCD behaviors that you would see, but I don't think people realize it's not like that. And
No.
once you portray it one way, everyone's like, "Oh, that's what it is." Well, fuck, she's crazy then. She just goes around washing her hands all day and clicks
Yeah,
lights on and off. No, Monica does not do that.
I don't do
She's not
that.
going through
No,
her house clicking lights on.
I don't go to bed at night tapping my light switches and my doorknobs and things
And
like that.
people
It's not
have
how
that. There
and
are
people
people that
do,
do, but that's not
but
every
that's not
single
mine.
OCD case. And so I
Yes.
think that you're right when it's like portrayed a certain way, like bipolar people are manic and they're crazy. I know I've only been manic in my adult life 3 times, and one was pretty recent. And so I went downstairs and my family was just coming at me from every fucking angle. And I'm like at the kitchen table, I'm like, you guys, I'm feeling pretty manic today and it's not like going away like it typically does. So can we just like take this down a notch and like leave me alone for a minute? Cause I'm like in my own situation.
Yeah.
And later on, I said something to my husband about my son not doing something right. And he was like, this is because you're manic right now. Ho, 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 ho. Now, no, this has nothing to do with my mental health. This has to do with your son. And so I'm a big believer in calling it what it is. Like, My mental health has nothing to do with how I'm parenting my son. It has nothing to do with my disappointment in him not getting the dishes done. You know what I mean? Like, this has nothing to do with that. No, one has nothing to do with the other. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who are mentally well, like my husband, who has zero mental health issues, look at us like, well, that must be why you're being a bitch. No,
Yeah.
no, that has absolute, I'm just a bitch, honey.
And
That has nothing
and
to do with this.
that's like where the like stigma I think attaches itself to things, is because there are people out there who have no understanding of mental health issues. They've
Yeah.
never had anxiety, they've never had depression, they don't have any of those things, and so they don't understand what it is and what it means and how to respond to those types of situations. And so they see it portrayed in social media, and they see it portrayed on TV, and they see it portrayed in the movies, and then they're just like, "Oh, well, this is what it means. This is where I've seen it, and this is how it, presents itself." And so, okay, well, you're just acting crazy because you have
Yeah.
bipolar, and
Even though you're
you're
acting
just
crazy
mad.
for something that makes sense, like it's a
Yes,
legitimate reason for you to lose your shit. They will look at you
exactly.
like, oh, this is because you're mentally ill.
Right? Oh, just like, "Oh, you're PMSing."
Oh my
Like,
God, I was just thinking that.
no.
Yes. No, this is
It's
not
like the
because I'm
same
bleeding,
thing.
honey. This is nothing to
Yes.
do with that. I do that once a month for 7 days and I'm not,
I'm still mad at you. You're being a dick.
yeah, this is still very much your shit, not mine. Oh my God. Um, no, don't even get me started on PMSing and the way that all goes down. I've got 3 daughters, so it's a fucking shit show up in this house.
Oh, yes.
So okay, let's get on to anxiety. Do you have any kind of anxiety? Do you struggle with panic
Yeah,
attacks?
so I do. Mine are pretty under control now, but I used to get really, really bad panic attacks to the point of hyperventilating,
Yeah,
passing out. I've had to go to the emergency room twice for them. Once when I was a teenager. It was the first panic attack I ever had. My stepmom actually thought I was having an asthma attack because I had juvenile asthma, and she took me to the emergency room, and I was just full on hyperventilating. I was having a
that's what it
panic
was.
attack. Yeah. And so that was when it started. I think I must have been like 15 at the time.
Wow.
And then as an adult, I still get them. I went to the emergency room again, I think when I was in my mid 20s. I just didn't have any coping mechanisms, and
Yeah, no skills.
I just couldn't calm
Yeah,
myself down and
that's
was
from
hysterical.
most people that only have them once or twice a fucking decade. They
Yeah.
struggle. Like my husband. My husband only gets them. He's only had them since his father passed away. Oh no, when Rebecca's stuff started happening, Junior went on medication for the first time in his life, and then when his dad passed away, that really triggered a lot for him, and he's still struggling with the loss of his mom now and his dad and Rebecca. So it's a lot behind it. But before, my husband never even knew what a panic attack was. And so his first one, he thought he was having a heart attack. And I thought so too, because it's his body and he's telling me what's going on. And so I took him to the ER and they were like, oh no, he's having a full on panic attack right now. So then
Yeah.
he realized, I think it was a big deal for our marriage when he looked at me and was like, this is what you go through every day. Oh my fucking God. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me, babe? Because this is
Yeah.
really
Scary.
ridiculous. You can have your Xanax, bitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because I have an actual panic disorder I was diagnosed with, and it comes from years of uncertainty in my childhood. And so I think I didn't start really, it's so strange to me that you were so young. I didn't have any panic or anxiety until I was clean and sober at like 21 years old, pregnant with Lily. And then I was realizing like what the last 8 years was, where I've been, what I've done, and like what I've got looking forward to, kids and a marriage, and just that at that moment, you know what I mean? For me, is when my panic started. It's when my anxiety disorder started, and it was just fueled more by all the stuff that happened after. So
Mm.
I don't think I knew to have anxiety as a kid. I just felt that constant impending doom feeling in my stomach at all times. Like I never knew if my parents were going to be upset. I never knew if the lights were going to get turned off. I never knew if we were going to get fed dinner. Like I felt like that impending doom all the time. So
Yeah.
that is what fuels my panic now. I don't want my kids to feel that way. I kind of over communicate what we're doing so they know what's going on and it's a little predictable for them because I don't want them to feel so out of control. I think when you're raising your kids, you can contribute to and give them these disorders because we're not born with them. I think these are kind of like from trauma. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion. I'm not a
And
doctor and I
I
don't
think
know what
that's
I'm
why
talking about,
mine
but
started so young was that it was, learning that kind of stuff, and things like that is just like all that uncertainty in my childhood and, feeling a lot of anxiety
abandonment.
and abandonment and things like
Yeah.
that. And just like not knowing and just having all that anxiety building up. And
Yeah.
I don't know,
Now I can't shake
manifested
it.
it that way. Yeah,
Yeah. And you know
same.
what? I think everybody has anxiety and just some people call it different stuff because my mom and my aunt have anxiety and they don't even word it as they don't label it as that. They label it as like I just don't feel good today, or they'll label it as something completely different, which is great. But I told my mom when I hugged her once, I gave her a big hug and she was shaking from the inside. Like I could feel her trembling. And I said, Mom, are you okay? She's like, Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, not feeling that great. And I said, Are you having an anxiety attack? Like, she's like, It's just driving in LA. It's really difficult on me. And I get super anxious driving in LA. I'm like, Then that's what's going on, Mom. You're having anxiety. It's not that you
She's
don't
like, no,
feel
it's not.
good. She's like, I just want to shit myself. Yeah, well, then you don't have the flu. This is anxiety. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
hello. Like, so I think that the older generation was never given those words. I know a lot of times when I use the lingo with my mom, she's like, What are you, a psychologist? She just tries to give me some shit, but it
You're
is
like, yeah, we
true.
have Google, so
And
basically.
I have years of therapy in my pocket. Like I'm
Yeah,
not even kidding.
same.
11 years of therapy between me going for myself, me going for my kids, and then parenting. Been doing this for 11 to 15 years. So
Yeah.
the
I
goes in my mind. It's not my
I try
fault.
to be like really open with Ramona about a lot of those things just because I want her to feel like really comfortable and knowing that, therapy is really important. And, if she ever feels like she needs to talk to somebody, like I'm open for her,
Yeah,
she can talk to a counselor, she can talk to a therapist. Anxiety is,
normal.
part of human nature. It's part of growing up. Depression can be part of everyday life sometimes, like not everybody's meant to be happy all the time. Like sometimes
Yeah.
you're sad and that's
And it's
normal.
okay
Like,
to admit it too, to go to your
yeah.
parents, to go to your healthcare provider and say, I'm just going through it right now and I just need somebody to talk to about it. A non judgmental, neutral person. And that's therapy. That is where you find that.
Yeah.
Um,
And with her, I worry too because she does have ADHD and there's a lot of like comorbid mental health issues with ADHD, like anxiety and depression and things like
they go
that.
hand in hand for
They
sure.
do go hand in hand. And I think too, with a lot of women don't realize that. And since ADHD is underdiagnosed in women, sometimes women have anxiety and depression and they don't realize they actually have
80,
undiagnosed ADHD.
80,
Yeah.
ADD or ADHD. Yes.
Yeah. And if they were
Big time.
diagnosed with that and treated, they probably wouldn't even have some of this anxiety and depression. So,
Yeah. I think women admitting, especially as adults, and going and getting treatment, it has been. I've seen quite a few women in my life be like, you know what, something isn't right, and I felt this way all through school, and I felt like I wasn't on everybody else's level, and then they go and they find out they're ADHD, and this entire time, you know what I mean, some
yeah.
therapies and some medication and some helpful um, education plans could have really contributed to a better, you know what I mean, childhood all around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's undiagnosed in very undiagnosed in girls. I remember when Rebecca was diagnosed, she would go to therapies, and we had like 2 therapies a week, I think, for socialization and stuff. And I shit you not, we'd walk in and she'd be the only girl,
Only girl.
like
Yeah.
15 boys, and she'd be the
Yeah.
only girl.
Yeah.
And she hated therapy. She's like, I don't feel like I'm represented. I don't feel like, I feel like I'm just going to this frat house, you know what I mean, to hang out with all these boys. So it was difficult. And I know nowadays it's definitely getting better, but it's hard to see in girls because we just look like we're trying to control the situation and bossiness, and that we're just a little bit frazzled and all over the place when we have
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah. And a lot of girls hide that kind of stuff
They
a little
can.
bit better
They can
because,
mask it. They can fake it
yeah.
to make it way better than a boy can, in my opinion.
Yep.
In
Yeah. No, and
adolescence.
that's why it's underdiagnosed in females.
Yeah. I'm glad we
So
both got our daughters diagnosed. I think Rebecca was 8 years old. Between the ages of 6 and 8 is when we started all the process, and it took a long time. This was 20 years ago, so
yeah, no,
it took.
Ramona was the same way. She was
Yeah,
8 when she was diagnosed too.
yeah. So yeah, I'm glad we did all that hard work at the IEPs and stuff that go along with taking care of a child that has uh, ADHD and then mental health at all, which Rebecca struggled with mental health her entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of work goes into that, and parents who have to do it, man, I fucking applaud you. I get it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a
That
lot.
shit is not easy.
No, definitely isn't.
She's
That's
like,
why I
I'm
have
fucking
high
in it, dude.
anxiety.
She's like, I'm fucking into it right now.
what
No.
what are some things like you do to help when you have like anxiety and stuff? Do you have any like coping mechanisms that you use?
Well, I avoid triggers. So triggers would be like, for me, would be like, alcohol, um, caffeine is a big trigger for me. Like if I have caffeine and I'm already having, like, I wake up already on edge and I drink a cup of coffee, I'm setting myself up to feel like shit, like for a majority of the day. And then the things I do to help is honestly like walk the dog. I am very limited with my exercise ability. Like I can't really exercise like you could if you're trying to get your stress out or your anxiety out. So I just walk the dog, and I don't go to therapy right now, but I would say Instagram is my therapy. I share a lot of my life over there, and I get a lot of feedback from my followers and a lot of like love and pats on the back and reassurance that it's normal, we're all in this together type of vibe. So I think that that's where I get my therapy is on Instagram. But everybody, you need to find it where you find it. Find your tribe, find your people, find your happy place, your soft spot. You know what I mean? Because it does help when you have some place like that.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
I know did your mental health improve when you made your page? Because I know that you
Yeah, it
started
did.
your page because of
Yeah, I was
your
in
mental health.
therapy. Yeah, when I started my page, I started mine at the suggestion of my therapist because I needed like an outlet and to find like more like-minded people, and as a way to like kind of document like things that I was struggling with. And
Such a great idea. That
it was a
therapist
really great
really
idea,
helped
actually.
because honestly, you've built like a tribe of people like minded, like she said, and it's honestly beautiful, because if
Yeah.
you're having a rough day and a rough parenting day, you don't have to go to your therapist and bitch to them. You can just go to Instagram and be like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, my following. This is what I'm
Yeah,
going
it
through.
really helps, I think, just talking about like even just like little things,
Yeah.
because there's sometimes it's like something stupid and insignificant, but at the time it just feels really big. And, little things like that can even trigger, you know, and
When I
make
get it
the
out,
whole day feel
yeah.
like
And when
it's
I get it
messed
out,
up.
I feel better. Like if I start the day off, and something bad happens, I can go on Instagram, talk about it, and I can move on. I don't have to like hold that all day and then carry it with me. It does feel
Yeah.
better. It's just like therapy for me. Everybody has
Yeah,
their thing. Maybe
I agree.
some people go to games, some people go to the bar, some people, you know what I mean, go out and do mini golf with their kids, like whatever it is that makes you take that deep breath and be like, okay, like this, it's okay. Yeah, do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I'm like having panic attack mode or I feel like I'm getting to that place, I try to do this is something that I learned when I was doing cognitive behavioral therapy. I try to focus on something like that's tangible, like a smell or something I can feel or taste or see, and
Yeah,
then I
it's good.
I just like cement myself on whatever that thing is for a couple of minutes, and that usually pulls me out of whatever panic attack that I'm starting.
Yeah, if I take my
It's really
shoes
hard to do,
off,
but
and walk either outside or on like the cold tile floor, um, and do my breathing, which is just in my nose, out my mouth, the deepest breaths I can take.
square breathing.
Yeah, my mom always, when I get really upset, I remember my mom always saying, Asia, breathe in your nose, out your mouth. And she would just say that to me. And it's something that, um, it helped me. Okay, you're right. And because I would do a lot of mouth breathing and like that, she's like, no, Asia, in your nose, out your mouth. And I take that big lung breath, and then you can feel it like, okay. And then another thing I do is like, is this going to matter tomorrow? Is what I'm stressed out about? Is what I'm freaking out about? Am I going to think tomorrow like this is still a really big deal? Or am I just right now over analyzing it or overthinking it. You know what I mean? Is this going to be a very big deal tomorrow or the next day or in a week from now? And if I can do those couple things, I can normally get myself out. But there are a few incidences lately where I couldn't, like the truck broke down and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
in the front seat with my husband, and I do have my disorder and I have it in check most of the time, but it was making a very, very loud noise, like donk, 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 like loud. And it was so big that all the cars were looking at us and it was making like a big shining light on us. And I started to panic so bad. And I just kept saying, pull the car over. And he was like, I can't, it's red. And I'm like, pull the fucking car over. Like I'm losing it. I jump out of the truck. I left my shoes in the truck and I'm walking in the grass now. And I'm doing my breathing because I had to get away from the truck. I couldn't, he just sat there in the truck with it turned off looking at me like, wow, I'm with the fucking psychopath. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
like walking on the cold ground, like, it's going to be okay, Asia. I'm like talking to myself out loud. I'm like, you're going to be okay. We're going to get through this, you know? So I think that I just do whatever my body tells me to do in those moments. And because my mental health is so important to me, I just listen to whatever it says, like, Asia, get there, do this. You're going to feel
Yeah.
better. You know what I mean?
Yep. You have to, like, take that time in that moment for yourself too, especially when you're, like, feeling it.
Yeah.
That moment, it's so important because you have to make the space for your mental health, or you can't help take care of other people, your family, your friends, whatever, if you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Your mental health is just really important.
It really is. And I
So,
think that the more we talk about mental health and anxiety and depression and all that goes with it, and normalizing that everybody goes through, either they're in it all the time or they go through bouts of it, and it's totally acceptable, and just be supportive to those you love, and check on those people that seem
yeah.
to check out and isolate themselves, um, make sure you're telling the people you love that you love them, like out loud. Loving out loud, living out loud, and is a great thing to do. It just helps a lot of people know that they're important. Like if you say, man, I just love you, you bring so much value to my life, and
Yeah.
put that out there, you're going to get it right back. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So
So, mental health, it's important, guys. Therapy, use it if you can.
yeah,
Medication is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. If it's
no,
something that you choose to do, don't let people make you feel bad for that.
yeah,
And, we're not doctors, but we have experience in these areas for
yeah.
our own personal experiences. And that's what we're sharing with you guys. We're not telling you to do any of these things. We're just sharing what we know, what we've experienced,
What
and
works for us? You know what
what
I
works
mean?
for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, reach out, you guys, if you have questions. And
Let's
we hope
continue
to hear from you.
let's continue
Yeah.
the conversation about mental health. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook,
Yeah.
Google
Find
us.
us
Yeah,
anywhere. Find our website.
everything's fucked.
Yeah. Everythingsfuckedpodcast.com.
Yeah.
You chat with us, guys. We'd love to hear from you.
We like the interaction.
We know this was a heavy episode. We just want to make it more normal for people to talk about their mental health because it is very important. And this is something that will not go away. And we will continue to be talking about it
Yeah.
throughout our time with you guys
Yeah. And I mean,
because we're not going
so
away.
many more, yeah, so many more episodes basically, around this. So
Yeah,
coming up.
exactly. All right, guys. We'll be chatting at you again soon.
Yeah. Have a good day,
Bye.
guys.